Hi, and welcome to the Flex podcast with me, Anna Martin. Today we are going to be talking about falling in love with your body. And first up, before we get started, I don't know anyone who hasn't got a body part that they kind of wish was a bit different, whether they're super fitnessy or not. So the starting point is to just know that you are not the only person that feels like this. The majority of people have got a little something going on that maybe they wish was a tiny bit different or a slightly different way that they could move, anything. Whether someone has a physique that you find desirable doesn't mean that they themselves find that desirable. And we can see that a lot in people, even when you think, oh my God, they're in really good shape. They'll be like, oh, well, I wish this was a bit different. Oh, yeah, but only if I had this. So everyone's got stuff going on mentally. And it's about trying to get to a point where you feel confident and in love with yourself exactly the way that you are. In fitness, you tend to find that women and men's training is skewed very differently. And that kind of shows, and that's not in terms of intensity or anything like that, but most women are more bothered about everything from the belly button down. So there's a massive trend at the moment for glute training for women, and most men are slightly more interested in from the belly button up. So they do like a lot of upper body training compared to their leg days. So there are differences between genders and so on in terms of what people focus on. And that kind of highlights as well that obviously people are interested in training different parts of their body because that is what they think looks good to them or that's what they think they should do. I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm just saying we notice little trends and it's worth mentioning them because it does sort of come into this in terms of everyone is always working on something, right? Um, People have got stuff going on that you don't know about, whether they wish they've got a perkier pear or a flat tummy or whatever. Most people, I'd say, are probably a little bit more negative about themselves than other people would be about them. So we're very judgmental on ourselves. And a lot of us are like that, not just in terms of our physique and the way that we look. It can be to do with everything like, oh, I didn't get all my sessions in this week, so I'm rubbish. Or I dropped off the wagon on Wednesday because I went out for drinks, so I've ruined everything. We can be quite hard on ourselves rather than being able to see a bigger picture. So I think that's the first thing to mentally start to get rid of is that feeling of that it's all right for them. Because everyone is working on their own stuff, everyone's got their own battles. So to kind of feed into this a little bit, if you don't know, I've got scoliosis. So I've got two curvatures in my spine. They're 45 degrees, they go sideways. There's a little bit of rotation there as well. So obviously there's a few implications in terms of how I move, stuff that I can do, and obviously in terms of the aesthetics, so how I look. So I have a rib hump on one side, which you can definitely see if I don't stand or sit up very straight. I had to wear a brace every day when I was at school, when I was a teenager, every night when I was at college. Technically, I fall into a surgical category, although I decided not to go down that route. So there's been implications there in terms of treatment. Obviously, I've had to take quite a lot of painkillers over the years for various phases, but I have, touch wood, been a lot better since I've been lifting weights, and that's made a massive difference for me. There's there's still implications in terms of training, like there are stuff that I can't do to the same degree that I probably wish that I could. So in terms of like squats and deadlifts, I can do variations of, but probably I cannot imagine a point where I'm going to get to where I can squat what my kind of training buddies would be able to squat. So instead, I still do them but I do them lighter, and I, instead of just not doing anything, I focus on the things that I know work really well for me, the variations that I've found over the years, and the way that I train in terms of giving myself enough time for recovery and spreading things out, that kind of stuff. Obviously, there's a lot of feelings around that. I used to hate my back. So if anyone ever, like if you were going out on a date or something, you're going out with your boyfriend or partner, whatever. They put their hands on my lower back to kind of like, I don't know, be nice and escort me through a door or something, I would literally want to gag in my mouth because all I could think was, oh my God, they've just touched it where it sticks out. They can feel it. Like if I lean forward and someone's got their hands on my lower back, I'm like, oh my God. I can like literally feel my vertebrae like touching their hand. And it does have implications in terms of clothes that I wear. Like I hate high waisted, stiff stuff because my ribs are so close to my hips that it just feels so restrictive. Some fabrics touch my spine, makes me feel gross. And also this whole 180 mirror thing in the changing rooms, like when you go to buy clothes and stuff, now they have mirrors so you can see yourself from the back. Well, I tell you what, I never want to see that. That stops me from buying vast majority of clothes that I try on, if I'm honest, because I can see all the different bits bulging and not being symmetrical and that kind of stuff. So there is, everyone has got stuff. And I think for me, one of the main reasons why I feel very appreciative of my body, and I guess I have so many less hang ups. Like, I definitely wouldn't get rid of my scoliosis now. If I could wave a magic wand, I wouldn't, because it makes me who I am in terms of how things I've had to work against to get where I am, my empathy in terms of my clients and stuff like that. If other people, anyone who's carrying an injury, I feel like I kind of understand how they feel when they feel very protective of their body, when they're training, when they're nervous to do things, stuff like that. So I wouldn't get rid of it now. But a part of that is because from a young age, I had to learn. It was a very slow process, but I did have to learn to love my body despite the fact that it grossed me out a little bit. So that for me has been a massive, massive, very long learning curve. Like I got diagnosed when I was 13, I'm 42 now. So it's taken a really long time. But I'd say one of the first things that helped me to see what I was capable of and what my back was capable of was starting to dance, which I mean, in itself, probably layered on some more issues in terms of looks and self worth, because obviously you're auditioning and you don't get them. And part of that is because of the way you look or whatever. But in terms of skill and learning something new, obviously I started off being pretty poor, and then things got a lot more, like got a lot better as I rehearsed more, practiced more, went to more classes. So I think that helped me see, do you know what, I can still do stuff and I can still keep up with other people. It isn't the end of the world. There are still options available to me. And then moving into dance fitness and then lifting weights, I was like, oh, look, my body isn't letting me down and it is really capable of doing this stuff. This, when you're lifting weights, I think first and foremost, I reckon 95% of the people that I train come to me because they want to look a bit different. So they might be looking for weight loss or toning or anything kind of aesthetic along those lines. They might want to look a bit more muscly, whatever. But when they start lifting weights, they start to love how they feel, which is so key because how you feel and the things that your body can do compared to where it started, not compared to other people, is so important in helping you feel successful and helping you respect your body in terms of what it can do rather than just judging it based on what you think it looks like compared to standards that you've set yourself. And when I say things that the way that you think it should look, a lot of that, a lot of that is from the culture that we live in terms of the media. Definitely in more recent years in terms of social media, but we didn't have social media when I was a young teenager, and we still all felt the same pressure. So did our parents. So there is definitely this expectation of whatever body shape or style is in fashion that we maybe judge ourselves a little bit towards that. And that's something that we've all been brought up with. We've all been around people doing diets and things to change the way that they look. And that can definitely have an effect on us, ourselves, the way that we look at our body and the way that we feel about ourselves. So I think that's one of the first things to acknowledge, is that the way we feel ourselves is massively influenced by outside. And once we start to look more at what we are achieving and what we can do in our own self and for our own body, that's when things start to shift. Our appreciation of ourselves is different. And that isn't me saying that someone who wants to lose weight or to gain muscle or to tone up is wrong. That's not it at all, because I'm definitely here for the muscle gain. I love it. It's one of my favorite things. But we can still want to do those things whilst thinking that we are awesome. And exactly as we are right now in this moment. And it's still nice to have goals and to want to move forward, all that jazz. But if you can love yourself along the way, that's what a really exciting thing, because then you're able to appreciate your body at all stages it's going through, and indeed all stages of life, because you are not always going to look how you look now. You're going to get older, things are going to change, but we need to, if we can appreciate our body for the stage in life and the things that it's going through and what we're doing to make ourselves be stronger, to move better, to live a healthier life for us and for the people around us, that appreciation can really start to turn the tables on how we are reflecting on the way that we look. I think another thing just to mention in terms of social media is potentially if you're following accounts that don't align with where you want to get to, then maybe it's time to unfollow some people. And that isn't saying that everyone you follow who maybe looks a certain way or whatever, you should start to unfollow. That's not it at all. But if they're putting huge amounts of emphasis on their physique, and you're looking at it, you're not learning anything, you're not being inspired, it's not making you want to go and do your workout that day. In fact, it's doing the opposite, and probably unfollow them. You don't have to, you're not obligated to follow people. You can clean things up so that you're seeing in your feed things that you find educational, motivational, whatever it is. And that isn't starting to say, oh, but everyone in good, like who's ripped and does all this is not a good inspiration for you. That's not it at all. But this is a personal journey. We need to do things in our own personal journey that make us want to do what we do for ourselves and to enjoy the journey and to love who we are. Part of that is respecting other people's genetics and their hard work. When you look at some people and you think, oh, wow, God, if only I looked like that, we need to take into account, one, that person has probably worked pretty bloody hard for decades, because for most people, it takes decades to put on muscle or whatever it is. So there's that part of it, is that you don't want to be in the gym 7 days a week. You don't want to probably be eating the diet that they're eating. You probably don't want to be missing out on social life like maybe they've had to. So if you don't want their lifestyle, then don't want the physique, because the two things come together. Secondly, genetics come into things massively. So there's definitely things that everyone can do to change their body composition. So if you're feeling particularly like maybe you're feeling weaker than you wish you were, so you know that maybe you don't have as much muscle tone as you used to have when you were younger, they're things that you can still do stuff about. So you can still gain muscle at any age. You can still resistance train, you can still lift weights, all that kind of stuff. But there are things that you can't do anything about. So for example, I'm very broad of the shoulder. I have a back, partly because I've got scoliosis, but partly because I am broad across the top half of my body. I mean, what am I going to do about that? I can't do anything about that. I've got a big back. That's the way it is. Yes, it is a bit bigger because I have lifted significant amount of weights over the last sort of 16, 17 years. But a lot of it is because of my structure, which incidentally made me very good at swimming when I was younger. So there will be structural things about yourself that can't be changed. Like I cannot cut my shoulders off, shave it all in, make myself less broad in the shoulder. I mean, maybe there exists something that you can do that with. I don't want to do that. So respect your genetics, your structure, respect other people's, because fair play to them. If they are born gifted as an athlete with a perfect shape, physique, and genetics to be super powerful, to sprint really fast and whatever, be an Olympic athlete, good for them. That's great. And we can still think that other people are awesome whilst also thinking that we are awesome. The two things are not mutually exclusive, to appreciate other people and to appreciate ourselves. I think another thing is to truly understand how long it takes to make a difference. If you are working towards a physique goal of any kind, you have to put some skin in the game, and it does take a long time. Anything that's telling you that you're going to look ripped in 8 weeks is lying, because you've got to put some muscle on, you've got to change the way that you eat, change the way that you train, you've got to do it repetitively and consistently over a really long time. I will definitely put myself as an example there. I am lanky genetically, so I have very, very long, slim limbs. For me to put muscle on, and either of those things taken quite a lot of hard work over a really long time. So the time it takes is something that we have to appreciate, so we know that whether our goals are realistic or not. But also, this is the reason why falling in love with the journey is so important, because you need to do a lot of repetitions of whatever it is that you're doing, whether you're learning to dance or lifting weights, or maybe you're taking up running, whatever it is. Learning a new skill and getting good at it takes a lot of repetitions before you can really start to see a lot of difference in terms of your performance, or your physique, or whatever it is that your goal is. That's why this falling in love with the journey is so important. And honestly, it makes such a difference if, when you're going to do a workout, you're not just like doing it because I need to do this because I have to look this certain way. You're doing it because you want to feel good. You know what results are coming from doing that. You're starting to enjoy it and see it for what it is, which is a really, really great way of moving towards feeling like a ninja in whatever way that means to you. Sometimes, very rarely, I think these days, because I think people are a lot more careful about what they say. But it was definitely something that I noticed a lot more when I was younger, and people were a lot freer with the mouth. That sometimes people will comment on how we look, and it might not be in a way that we necessarily think is appropriate or we necessarily welcome. And that doesn't mean that that person is trying to be mean to us. Sometimes it can come from a place of maybe they're trying to compliment us or whatever it is, but it comes out a bit skewed, right? Because these days we don't necessarily comment on physique and aesthetics in the same way that maybe someone would have like 10, 15 years ago. So just for like a working example, very occasionally, very rarely, I've had the comment of, "Oh, you'll never find a husband if you put any more, if you get any more muscly, or don't. You need to make sure that you're not training too much because you don't want to look too muscly." I was like, "What's too muscly?" Now, firstly, I don't do gear, so I don't really think that's much of a risk, if I'm honest. And also, I'm lanky, so hard gainer. Yes, I am. It's going to take a while for me to put any muscle on. But secondly, it was interesting. It wasn't a comment that it wasn't like a conversation where that comment was something that I had asked for. So it's something that someone had said, but I could have taken offense, or I just decided to look at the way of understanding them. They have their set of values and the set of things that they know to be true for themselves and their life. They are also people that have lived through the same culture with diet and judging people on the way that they look that I have. So sometimes we have to be kind, and maybe we can look at that when someone makes or says something that which probably wasn't meant to offend, but maybe was meant to kind of like, I don't know, empathize with you or join in or something, but it was just a bit of a kind of misguided sentence. So instead of taking that in and being really like, that's changed the way that I feel about myself, it's just me acknowledging that person who I really like, has a different set of values that I do not. And that's fine. I don't think they should have said that to me, but I wasn't offended by it. It didn't affect the way that I look at myself. Um, it doesn't have any real bearing on me. It's not, that's not really where my values are as a person, and it wouldn't be where my partner's values are either. So that is the important thing. You have just one body, and as far as we know, just the one life. So, yes, you do want to look after your body and treat it well. But on the flip side, if you're going to disrespect yourself by talking shit to yourself, that doesn't come in line with you wanting to treat yourself well. So if you're doing all this stuff, like you're trying to look at your nutrition, you're trying to look at your training, you're trying to move better, to be mindful of the things that you're putting in your body, but you're still talking to yourself like a piece of crap. These are things that they don't align, right? They don't align together. Part of loving yourself and wanting to look after yourself is also wanting to mentally look after yourself. And that's really important. So just next time you speak to yourself like a piece of crap, just remember, actually, I'm trying to look after myself in its entirety, including my mindset, my inner dialogue to myself, all these things. And actually, the way that we speak to ourselves is a massive part of that. So, this is bringing me on nicely to positive affirmations, which, to be honest, I'm not like a chanty person. So, they're not for me, but I do see the benefits of it for other people if they're that way inclined. But even though I just said I'm not a chanty person, I do kind of set intentions when I'm on my way to train or when I've just started my workout or whatever it is. So I know that I want to get in there, I'm going to do my best, like disregarding how I feel. So that doesn't mean that I think, oh my God, I don't feel that great today. So I'm still going to push and PB. Sometimes, yes, I do have to do that because I know that I'm just getting in my head about it or I'm making an excuse. At other times, like I'm tired, and that's okay, but I'm still going and I'm still appreciating myself for going. I'm still appreciating my body for being there for me. I know it might not be a PB day, but what my body has still done for me is incredible in that workout, despite the fact that it was feeling a little bit like a bag of crap. So there are ways to kind of set your intentions that are still kind to yourself and that are still respecting yourself, your body, and the way that you are looking at yourself going into and coming out of that workout. We're not disappointed with ourselves because we didn't PB. There's a whole lot of stuff that comes into that, including recovery, tiredness, cycle, everything. So we are just saying, Joe, I showed up, I did my best on that day with what I had, and that's cool. I think a part of that can come from like demonstrating it outwardly to other people as well. So, for example, there's a woman at my gym who can squat like over twice my body weight, if I'm completely honest. And I can't squat like that, and I never will be able to squat like that. Would I love to be able to squat like that? Yes, I would. Am I jealous? No. Do I respect her? Yes. Do I get all my clients to stop and watch her when she's doing one of her peak sets? Yes, I do. Do I frequently compliment her? Like, my God, you are so strong. That was amazing. Yes, I do. Because I think that's nice. I think she probably quite enjoys hearing it. I've definitely said it to her on a couple of days, and she's said, "Oh my God, thank you. I was feeling so lethargic today. I didn't want to come, and it's so heavy today. I didn't get as many reps as I wanted. So thank you. I really appreciate it." And I think positively complimenting people in a way that we would like to be complimented can be a really nice thing. I definitely don't just touch in on weight loss. It's not something I would ever compliment someone on because I have no idea what's going on for them in terms of why that. Sorry, this is being silly, but in terms of why that might have happened, and I don't really want to harp on about someone's weight all the time because that isn't everyone's goal, and that's a really important thing to remind ourselves of. Is maybe that's not something that that person particularly wants, but if someone comes up to me and said, "God, your shoulders are looking hench at the moment," I feel really chuffed with that. That makes me feel really happy. The worst thing that someone can say to me is, "Oh, you're looking extra skinny today." Like, I've been in the gym 5 times a week for 16 years. I don't want to look skinny, thanks. Um, so everyone's compliments are different, but I think we can kind of like know that, right? Because of the type of person that we're talking to. But complimenting someone on whether they're, I love your leggings, or oh my God, I can't believe you just lifted that. It's so heavy, or God, I see you in here every day. You're working so hard. They're really nice compliments for someone to have. And I think that can be the kind of thing that maybe want to change the way that we compliment other people as well, so that we are giving compliments that we would like to receive ourselves. Um, so yes, which also brings me nicely onto thinking about things that you love about other people. So I don't know about you and your group of friends, but I don't love my friends because they've got an epic ass, tiny waist, or they're ripped, or they have an incredible, I don't know, core control. They're not things I love about them. I love them because they're funny, because they're supportive, because they have the same values as me, because they inspire me, because they're just epic people who know when to have a laugh, who know when to be serious. They're multifaceted, awesome people who I respect very much. They're not, I don't love them because their ass is cracking. Your people don't love you because you're of your ass either, or any other of your body part. They're not the things about you that they're gonna remember. People remember how you make them feel. And that's your personality, your values, who you are as a person. All of these things are what is important about you. So we don't judge other people with this physical sort of demands that we have on ourselves. So why are we doing it to ourselves all the time? And this is where loving yourself starts to come into its own, right? Because you are your personality and who you are, your discipline, your motivation with your training, all of those things, they are not anything to do with the way that you look, or your age, or the changes your body has been through after an injury, or maybe a pregnancy, or any of those things. They are not the reasons why people love you. And they probably shouldn't be the reasons why you love yourself, if that makes sense. Like, don't get me wrong, you think you've got a cracking ass, celebrate that ass. I'm definitely not saying we shouldn't like love parts of our body, but they are not the main focus of why other people are attracted to us, whether that is in terms of friendships or proper relationships of any kind. On that, I've got to do like to flit about with my conversations, but on that note, if you think about the things that you find attractive in a partner, and I don't just mean like having a perv at someone in a film, but things that you would describe as your ideal type of person, um, I don't know how many of those things would match up with what the media would consider to be an ideal body shape, for example. So mine definitely isn't. Like I like what I look like when I'm looking for like a partner is that it's definitely aesthetically, I'm talking not in terms of values, because obviously that's kind of the same thing as with friends and stuff. But aesthetically, the guys that I like probably don't fit that tall, dark, sort of handsomey, whatever general thing that people kind of have this thing about. Like, I'm probably the complete opposite, if I'm honest. And they're the things that I appreciate. Someone like the people that I date probably wish that they were taller because they're guys. So I guess every guy wants to be super tall. That's such an assumption of me. But let's say that that is true. I don't want them to be because I like my men shorter. So there's that, right? What we look and see as attractive in a potential partner is very different to someone who models for Calvin Klein. Like, I can't think of anything worse. I don't want to go out with anyone super ripped. It's been my nightmare. I really like going out for dinner. I really like eating food. I really like having fun. Yes, I do want someone who looks after themselves because me, that's really important in terms of where our values match up. So I do want them to look after their body and appreciate it. But I do also really want to be able to eat cheese with them. So there are things that for me wouldn't match that ideal man shape. And they are the same. And we are the same with whoever it is that we're attracted to, right? So when you start thinking about that, then why are you judging yourself on things that they might think are literally the sexiest part of your body? And that is really key. I can't highlight that enough. Like, we're so judgy about ourselves, but they might be the thing that someone else thinks is the best thing about us. And that comes to personality as well for a lot of things. Like, one of my worst things sometimes is some of the messages that I send my friends. I'm not gonna, but I find myself quite amused, and then afterwards, sometimes I send them and I think, God, was I a bit rude then or whatever? But that's one of the things my friends like about me is that I take the mick and have a bit of a laugh and that stuff. So let's not judge ourselves based on what we think other people think of us, and instead think, how do I appreciate other people? Definitely not in those harsh ways that I judge myself at all. Um, your body does amazing, amazing things for you every single day. Your heart beats, your brain thinks, all this stuff happens. And yes, we want to look after ourselves so that we can appreciate those basic things it's doing for us. It's taking us to work, it's helping us look after the people around us. It's being there as a friend, as a partner, as a parent, as a child, lots of different roles that it's helping us get through. So we appreciate it for that, for what it does for us, and for the incredible things that it's accomplishing in a day if we're then asking it to work out and do stuff on top of that. Part of that appreciation, yes, is treating it well in terms of like nutrition and training and recovery days and things like that. So those are all important, 100%. But a lot of it is how we treat ourselves mentally as well at the same time. So it does so much for us automatically on an internal and external level without us thinking about it. So let's stop being mean to ourselves because we don't have the same perky ass cheeks that we had when we were 18. Well, we're not 18 anymore, but we can still appreciate our body for all of the things that it does internally and externally. And we can still do things to look after ourselves, like to gain muscle, to feel more mobile, to move better, to have better cardiovascular performance, to eat better, and respecting our health over our physique. 100%, because it's still possible to be very healthy and not to look like a swimwear model, and probably healthier not to look like a swimwear model, if we're completely honest. So you can still prioritize health. You can still want to, maybe, if you deem it to be improving your physique, that's the way that you're looking at it, or you want to gain muscle, whatever, you can still do all of those things, but still look after yourself mentally and physically, still respect yourself, still love yourself, and still appreciate yourself. It's really, really key. Let's not talk shit to ourselves. Let's look after ourselves mentally and physically. I feel like I've said that a lot of times this podcast, so I'm going to stop talking and be quiet. But I hope my ramble, switching from topic to topic, has helped a little bit. And it's a long process. It's a really, really long process to appreciate yourself for who you are physically and as a person. I think a lot of us probably need a bit of time with that, and that's okay. But start, even if it's just next time you're mean about yourself when you put some clothes on, like, take that away. Try to change how you're talking to yourself in the mirror, reframe how you're seeing yourself, and see how it starts to change your mindset in terms of your training and your physicality, your movement, your confidence in yourself, that kind of stuff. Right. I am actually going to stop talking now. But hope you've enjoyed the podcast. I hope you're enjoying Flex in general. If you are interested in joining the whole Flex program or just one of our big 3 challenges, then do head over to my website, annamartinfitness.co.uk, check things out, and maybe sign up to my mailing list. You know, why not join in? Me not sending very regular emails and then sending for over 4 weeks and then not doing it again for another 2 months. Be really nice and regular and consistent for you. Right. I will speak to you again soon. Have a great week.